Hi there, this is Louise Grogan with Transform Your Life by Design. Today on Digital Limits, we will talk about DNA versus environment. Have you ever thought about if your DNA was responsible for the quality of your life, for your behavior, for your character traits? In any case, Trish Jones from trishjones.com and myself are here today to give you that information. Trish?
Hi everybody. Hi. Right. Louise, I'm kind of interested in your question, right? It's about our DNA, and you talk about the fact that it's the fate, right, of our life. What do you mean by fate? Because that kind of sounds like death, right?
Yes, it can have a connotation. No, is the fate of your life determined by your DNA? Let me put it in other words here. Is who we are or what we want to become. Is that pre-programmed in the DNA that we were born with? Is our behaviors, our lifestyle? Is the fact that, we're lazy, we don't have a lot of energy, and we find that we're pretty much, like our father or like our mother who has a similar behavior or way of being anyway than us? Are we convinced, and do we say it has to do with these genes? However, there is the environment here that comes into play, and it comes into play much more than we may think, and it may also participate in carving the quality of our life.
So, Louise, are you saying that the environment has a bigger impact on our DNA than we perhaps even recognize?
Yes, Trish, absolutely.
So, how? Because, for most people, as you say, we just kind of think that this is our lot. We've been brought up in this environment, and this is how it is, right? We go to this school, we live in this neighborhood, and we're going to end up being like this, and you're saying that that's not necessarily the case?
Well, what happens is that we blame the genes of our parents, and we say, well, that's why I'm in that school. That's why I live in a ghetto. That's why, and I'm kind of trapped with this DNA, and there's nothing else that I can do with my life. So there's no ambition. There's no inspiration. There's just this belief in their mind, and it's chatting in their mind as well, that the gene is their parents, they have their parents' genes. Now, about the environment, which is a really good point that you are bringing up here. Here's the thing. The environment is what will trigger emotions, anger, joy, disappointment, fear. This is what our cell will be recording. It is recorded by our cell because the cell of our body, we are a community of 50 trillion cells.
Wow.
Just to make that clear.
Wow.
Everything about us is a cell. Everything, and each little cell has in it all the functions that our body has, like a digestive system, respiration, immunology, excretion, and they communicate between each other. So the environment and what perception we have and what beliefs that we have and how we feel about it, that is fed to the cells. And it's not the DNA that is feeding the cells. And the reason is that the DNA has a very, very different role here. So Dr. Bruce Lipton, who has a published research, and published means that it has been reviewed and reviewed and reviewed and retested and retested. By the time it's published, it has peer review, so it's official. Mm-hmm. And this has came out in 1980. So this is not new stuff, folks, but I think it is way, way behind schedule for coming out. So he did these research, and he came with the result that confirms that DNA has never been responsible for predetermining our life. We've never been at the mercy of our DNA.
So if it's not the DNA, then Louise, what is the role of DNA? Because I don't want to ask you your question here, but something that you said I found really interesting was about the cells recording, doing the recording, and the DNA is not feeding the cell. So can you elaborate on the role of the DNA in our genes? And also as well, I want you to go back and talk more about the cells doing the recording, because you say a cell's got digestive system.
Yes, that's the interior. The interior of a cell, if you go inside the interior of a cell, you will see all the functions that we have. It's very, very interesting and very simple at the same time. So it says that, you know what? These cells are us, and we are these cells. And the way that they capture the information is that around them, so imagine a cell like a penny, right? We'll make just that very simple here. Around a penny, it's the skin, okay? Just like our skin, we have our skin. And there are sensors around this cell. We have sensors, right? The eyes, the smell, the touch. Well, it's the same thing for the cell. And that's how it takes its information. It has like thousands and thousands of antennas, little antennas around. And it recognizes the chemicals that are produced when we have emotions, when we have joy, when we have peace, when we relax, when we are stressed, when we have fear, when we have anxiety, where we are in lack, when all that is constantly fed to ourselves. And now we're talking 24/7 here.
Right, wow.
Now, your question about the DNA, what does DNA does then? What's the role of DNA? Well, DNA, in the 80s, I remember, because I saw that in the newspapers. I was in Montreal, at the time, and here's a paper said, okay, we understand the human now. We have the Human Genome Project, and we know what the DNA is, and we have made studies. And yes, you can take a strand of DNA, and a DNA strand looks like a spring that turns like this.
Yeah.
And they pulled it. They just separate the DNA. Okay, DNA comes in 2 strands, so they separated it. They placed one piece here and another piece there, and they came back maybe a week or 3 weeks afterwards. What happened is the DNA reproduced itself. So you had 2 strands on the left side and 2 strands on the right side. So they started really investigating that. So why is it reproducing itself? Well, to put it really simple here, think about DNA that is a car dealership, okay? Think about the BMW car dealership. That's your DNA. And there's maintenance part over there, there's a maintenance service, and everything is there. Okay. Think of your car as a cell, right? It needs protein, chemicals, all kinds of stuff, okay? Some of that will break, some of that, will lose its energy. We don't take enough vitamins and whatnot. Well, that car will go to the car dealership to have a tune-up, to have a part replaced. It's mostly replacement of chemicals. That's what the DNA does.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything else. The information doesn't move from the DNA to our cells. And it makes sense because, it's coming from the outside. There's nothing pre-programmed inside the DNA that is responsible for our character traits, our behavior, what we're going to do in life, if we're going to be a doctor, a surgeon, or a dentist. Nothing. None of that. The very important piece to remember, and very important that we wrap our mind around that, and there's another research that came out from Dr. Lipton, supported by statistics, that as far as DNA is concerned, only 5% and maybe less than 5% of the population is born with a chromosome deficiency. Only 5.
Wow.
And we're talking about Down syndrome, of course, cystic fibrosis, color blindness, and there are many, many more. Now we're left with 95% of the population that is born with a perfect DNA. You know, a normal DNA.
Wow.
So that's a very important piece of information that people don't know. It's only 5%, folks, right? And this is where all the research, all the information is coming from. And for me, it was really important when I got to that.
Yeah. You know, Louise, I know one of the things that you talk about a lot is the power of knowledge and information. And, you know, you talking about the fact that 95% of the population have perfect DNA and only 5%. And yet, if you spoke to most people, and I know I'm generalizing by saying most, they would suggest that they're one of the 5%, right? And the 5% has suddenly almost turned itself around, as if 95% have a defect and 5%. Would you not agree?
Of course I would, right? I mean, people are people, right? And until they understand that the 5% is for really serious condition where your doctor told you that you're lacking a chromosome in your DNA. And you will know it because you're going to have Down syndrome. You're going to have very, very serious conditions.
Yeah.
You know, so it's about education, it's about knowledge, and also people that are really concerned about having, being affected by the DNA of their parents. And I'm talking about, of course, you know, young teenage, female teenage inmate, these teenagers that are in dysfunctional family, moving from one foster home to the other. Hey, they want to know that. Because, trust me, they do believe that. They do believe that. Now, they will confront their parents if their parents just tell them, hey, you have my genes. Well, they're going to say, no, I don't. I don't have your genes. I don't want you. I don't want to be like you. However, once the confrontation is done, trust me, the teenager will go around and she has that in her head. It's in the back of her head. And she will say, she knows that, I know I have her genes, you know. I know I have her genes, and it stays there until she's going to have the answer. And not only that, but people around her tell her that. Siblings tell her that. Neighbors tell her that. Teachers.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking the same thing, Louise. The teachers, even doctors, you know, and people in authority, and that's what endorses that feeling of, well, my mom must be right.
Yes. It reinforces what you doubt.
Yeah.
And then, you know, your girlfriend says it, right? She's a teen, right? She says it. And then they keep saying, oh, well, you know, I have the genes of my mom. I have the genes of... So it sinks in.
Wow. Okay, Louise, I'm intrigued now, right? You're not a doctor.
No.
Start calling you Dr. Louise Grogan. I think it sounds quite trendy, actually. But but you've obviously done a lot of research on this to be able to, you know, give us the information so succinctly and, you know, with such a broad spectrum. You know, how did you find this kind of thing out? Because it's not exactly the kind of thing that, you know, is on the bookshelf right at the beginning, you know, when you walk into Borders or Waterstones or whatever.
Yes. 5 years ago, I ran into the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton. Now, it's vague if someone gave me some CDs or a book, but I remember someone telling me, Louise, you want to read that. It's important information, and you're really going to like it. And I remember that at that time, I think I was maybe 40, whatever it is, I
Hmm.
still had this belief in me. I was not obsessed about it, but it was there, right? It was there, just parked on the shelf, and just okay. I would come back to it now and then when it's appropriate, whatever it is. Well, when I read this information, I was so relieved, and to hear someone tell me outside this book, well, you don't have your mother's genes doesn't have any influence on you, would not be sufficient for me. But
Right.
that's my style. I would have needed something very convincing to just make me believe, because I have to believe it. It's important. The relief comes from the belief. So if you don't believe it, it's going to come here, it's going to go out there, and it's not going to do any good. So I did, because the way I explained it to you, that's the way he explained it. So I studied all his work, everything, all his books, all his conferences. I would go on the internet and see where he would give an interview, and that changed a lot of things for me.
Wow.
It changed an important part that opened other doors. So that's what it did, and I think it's the first thing that teenagers, female inmates, young adults inmates, or this audience, this population that live in challenging conditions, and they're housed, they're neglected, they're just left by themselves, or there's violence in the house. It is so important to give. For me, it's a mission. It's a mission, especially, of course, the inmates. They have to know that.
Yes. So for you, Louise, what was the big haha? You said it was very important for you. What was the big haha when you read, that it's not, after all these years, of my mother telling me that I have her DNA,
Hmm.
what was the big haha?
It was ha. It was.
Relief that, I don't
Was
want to put words in your mouth, but relief that I no longer have to believe this.
It's a relief, and I thought, you know what? What she is, it has no consequence on me.
Right.
It has nothing chemically in me that will have consequences as far as my behavior, the anger that I had at that time. I understood that it was the environment. It is the environment. It's not the DNA. It's the environment. So my big moment was that, wow, I can change things.
Right. Wow.
I
And
can change things.
and
I
and,
can
and it,
change the environment, but you bring the environment with you. But
mhm.
it's much, much easier to undo
Nice.
what environment has done to you, right? And it's easier when you understand that it's not the DNA, of course, right? Everything works for you. You'll see. You get more confident, you get more focus, and there's hope, and there's a way out.
Nice.
So that was my.
Nice. I really like that. So, in terms of your mission, you said it's your mission.
Mm.
Um, is it, again, I don't want to be putting words into your mouth, right? But is it the relief that you found that you now want to inspire, people you said about, young females and inmates, etc. Is it that kind of relief and release that you felt that is kind of driving you towards this work?
When I think about them, the female teenager inmates, with this information, they will have a piece of freedom. It's going to be deeper than a relief, because they are in three different prisons. They're in the prisons of themselves,
Hmm.
they're in the prisons of their surrounding, which can be home, school, the hood, right? And then they're in the prison, they're in the physical prison. Oh, did I say that? I forgot that.
Sorry.
Inner presence, the physical prison, and then the surrounding
Wow.
prison. So if and the parents are what really affects us emotionally the most, right? And if they're in prison, they don't feel very happy. And if their mother is in prison at the same time, now imagine if they don't think that it's because of their mother's DNA that they're in prison. It's the first thing that they need to hear. And they cannot hear it just say, well, you know what, girls, you know the DNA that you have your mother DNA, you're gonna end up like your mother, and that's not enough. It's not enough.
Mm.
They need to know much more detail. The whys. They need to know that.
You know, so that's interesting. Actually, that will help me with this next question that I want to ask you. You know, you said about the whys, and you know, even kids want to know why, right? You know, they ask the why question a lot. How can you present this information to teenagers in a way that they understand? Because, you know, I don't think it would be me generalizing too much to say that it is thought that, or rather it's understood that people who are in prison, right, tend to be from more lower working class, and so they might not have the same level of education. So how do people like you help these young people, these inmates, these people from the hood understand this information?
They're craving education, but not mathematics.
Are you talking to me?
No.
Because not registered.
Or geography, right? No. They are craving this information. And the generation that we have today, either they're in jail, these young teens, this is another generation that we are speaking to.
Yeah.
More aware, more educated by themselves with the internet and all the sides that they can go. They have more information. They're more intelligent that people give them credit for. And even for the guards around them, it's the same thing. They are underestimating them. And I know that they're very, very smart because I come from there. I didn't go to prison, but it was pretty close. But I didn't make it there. Okay? I was at the best place at the best time, and nothing happened to me.
You just didn't get caught, in other words. Is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, I don't want to think you just no. I never got caught, but I never did anything, you know, for that too. But the people that I was around with, I could have been trapped with them and just go in jail.
Yeah.
With them, right? Does it make me someone that is not smart enough, or no? I'm a survivor. These girls are survivors. They have skills. They can read a person like not one average person can do. They have powerful skills for them to have a good life with. And yes, they will get it. And as an example, very quickly, I have my articles that being edited and proofread by this really sweet girl. Her name is Christina. She just turned 18. She's exactly the client, the person, the audience, the population that I am targeting. She left home. She was 12 years old. She just ran out of there. The parents and the surrounding was too toxic. It was awful. She ran, and she started making a life on her own. She just turned 18 now. She went from one foster home to another, and we can imagine, right, how hard it was. Yeah. She's going to be in college now. She's in Vermont. She is very smart, tenacious, and I will tell you, when I was her age, okay, which is a long time ago, I didn't have thoughts like that, and I was in a ditchy environment too. So that tells me that, you know, this generation, they're so much smarter. When I wrote my article on DNA versus environment, of course, she edited it, and she came back to me and she said, Louise, do you know how many times I heard that? Do you know how many times that I've been told, oh, you just finished like your mother, you have her genes, you're just like her. You're not going to do anything in life. Many times. And she said she read my article and she said, Louise, I'm so happy to read that. And she said, I did my research with the links that you have included there. And she said, I show that to all my girlfriends that are like me. So that was something, you know. Now, is everybody's going to get it? Well, you know, it's for the people who will get it.
Who want it. Yeah, so, but if there are people here listening tonight and they want to learn more about this topic and they want to get it out of their head, right, that I don't have to be like my parents. In fact, I don't have to be, I'm not like it, but they need a little more convincing. Where would you send them to find this information?
I would strongly encourage them. Do not waste a minute. And I'm serious, guys. You want to go and get this book, The Biology of Your Cells, by Bruce Lipton. It's easy to read. It's in a layman's term. Don't worry about that. It's not science or quantum physics. And this will answer a lot of your questions in deeper depth that I went today. Because today, really, I just wanted to cover that and just to tell you your parents' DNA has nothing to do with you having a behavior of this way or becoming that, or it has nothing to do with you. It's the environment. It's the environment. Now, this book will give you knowledge. And knowledge is what you need because knowledge is power. Mm-hmm. And you will be self-empowered. As we become more knowledgeable, more self-empowered. Well, you know what? You can let God in. It's just not that God is not in you. God is in you. But for now, He's in this little beautiful little pink container. And there's a lid on it because, you know, we're afraid, we're survivors, and, you know, and as the fear subsides, and as we gain knowledge, right? Well, this lid here starts lifting a little bit, and you know what? Your heart is going to start breathing. Mm. Your heart is going to start breathing. It's just going to make a little opening here. Now, we have work to do about the environment that is inside of us, that has been created by the environment outside of us. That's feasible, but that's a way of life. This is a way of life that will bring you so much, so much.
Excellent. Excellent. Wow, Louise, you've given us so much information here today, and even I've been educated, right? But it's been a lot, right? And people listening may kind of, you know, not taking enough notes. Just summarize for us, will you, what you've told us today?
Yes, Trish. I will summarize this in 4 points. Point number 1 is we are a community of 50 trillion cells. Everything about our body is made of cells. Our hair, our nails, our eyelashes, everything. Point number 2 is that the cell takes its information from outside, from our surrounding, from what we think of our surrounding, how we behave, we react to our surrounding. That is how the cell takes its information. Point number 3 is that the DNA, its role is only to repair broken protein or to balance chemicals. That's what DNA does. DNA has no impact on our behavior, on what kind of quality of life we will have. Why do we have tendencies to do what we do? DNA has nothing to do with this. It's the environment around us. Point number 4 is the perception we have, the belief we have, what we think, our personal opinion of what is playing around us. It can be fun, good music, it can be friendship, joy, it can be chaos, it can be people around us that are constantly fighting, like parents. It can be, it builds opinions and perceptions. And this is what affects the cell. It is not the DNA. The DNA has a very different role. The DNA repair the chemicals in the protein. And that's about it.
Good. That's good. Thank you, Louise. So, Louise, we're coming to the end of this interview, and I've thoroughly, as I said, been educated, definitely been educated. But where can other people get in touch with you? You know, there are going to be people who may buy the book, but there are other people who may want to get in touch with you, see what you're up to, find out, pick your brain, right?
Yes, sure. I'm always available for people. I just love people coming to pick my brain and bringing me questions and challenging me, right? Why not? We're here to bounce thoughts and share information. You can find me on Facebook and on Google Plus, of course, and also on my website, Louise at louisegrogan.com. I wrote an article about the interview that Trish is giving me today, and my article's title is "Are We Victim of Our Gene Makeup?" Now, if you want to have a copy of this article, I will be very, very happy to email it to you. So if you're interested in the article, you can email me at info@louisegrogan.com. I think it's this side, or whatever it is, here.
We'll put it in the video. We'll put all these links in the video, Louise, to make it
okay.
below.
And also, I'm thinking about reposting it on Facebook and Google.
Excellent.
So that's the great news for today, folks.
Excellent. Louise, this has been great, as I said, and if I've said it 15 times, I apologize, but I have been educated today. I don't yet have a copy of the book, but I am actually going to go and look it up on Amazon now, and I'm so grateful to you coming and sharing this information. I just, to be honest, I wish that, you know, if there are people listening, right, who do this kind of work, come and interview Louise, because this information needs to be broadcast, right? It really does need to be made public, because there are so many people going around. And, you know, I don't want to kind of take over what you were saying, Louise, but in truth, it's one thing your mother telling you or your father telling you got my DNA or whatever, but it's when it's backed up, as you say, by their teenage friends and authority. And so...
Yes, and you will find on the internet that you have articles that still say that.
Still say, exactly. And so, honestly, if you have listened to this broadcast today, this interview, sorry, and you are in this line of business where you're working with people who are struggling even to get success, right, even to be successful, you need to interview Louise Grogan and look a lot more into this, because, you know, sometimes the information is as close as the nose on our face, and we're missing it because we're looking at sometimes all of these other complicated things that just, you know, just don't work, right? Because, you know, Louise, if we're made up of what, remind me, 50 trillion cells?
50 trillion cells.
50 trillion cells, and our cells and our subconscious is not believing.
It's like we have no protection. Have you thought about that? We have no protection.
Right.
I mean, these cells are just right there, you know, like good vibes, bad vibes. Well, the cells are right into it. Something else I wanted to add here to finish. Oh, yes, and if there's any organization out there or people with contacts in juvenile prisons for with female, I would be more than happy to go and speak with these teenagers, these female teenagers.
Excellent, excellent. Yes, and I highly recommend Louise, and yes, please, I endorse what Louise says. Got to get her into those organizations, got to get this information out to people, because it is so very important. Louise, thank you so much again for coming and giving us this information, and I hope this isn't the last time that I get a chance to interview you. And everybody who's been listening today, watching, we're grateful to you coming on the show. Spread the word, please. Spread the word about what Louise is doing. Spread the word about the information that you've heard today. Go and buy the book. Go and check out Louise's website. Go and check her out on Facebook. As I said, we will put all of the links inside, underneath the video. Anyway, Louise, any last words you've got? Any last takeaways, last words?
Last words is I love you guys, and I wish the best and nothing less for anybody. Thank you for watching, and we will meet again on other topics.
Thank you. Okay, everybody. Appreciate you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.